This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Hi, my name is Igor Kheifets, and this is The List Building Lifestyle, the only podcast which delivers cutting-edge conversion strategies from the online trenches straight to your earbuds. Download the transcript of today's episode and all future episodes at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com. I also invite you to grab a free copy of the Wealthy List Builder Survival Guide at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com/survival. And now, once again, it's time to claim your list building lifestyle.
Welcome back to another edition of List Building Lifestyle. Before I allow Igor to take the mic and take over, I'm going to share a quick testimonial or review that we received for the show. And if you guys aren't giving us reviews and you've listened this far, we're in episode 96. So get your ass over to iTunes and give us a review. So here we go. This is Ray Bowering. And here's what he says. We have a saying in Australia. There has to be a better way to make quid. And after 20 years of doing similar shit, I still wonder why I do it. Left 2 p.m. yesterday afternoon, drive 4 hours, carrying a trailer, 2-ton car park sweeper, quick. What the heck is this? Look, this guy is just doing too much work. He's got sore muscles, whining managers, all kinds of things going on. And here's what he says about Igor. Thank God I met you and decided that this is no way to live. Within the next 6 months, as soon as I replace this income, I'm going to retire all those bastards who don't appreciate what people go through to provide a service. So, Ray, I shortened up your testimonial, but he is a cool guy. Ray's a cool guy. He's doing too much work, and he realizes that listening to Igor, listening to the list building lifestyle is a way out of that crappy lifestyle. So, Igor, hopefully I didn't kill Ray's testimonial, but what do you think about this guy?
Well, I mean, it's a mouthful. I agree, and Ray is like that. You know, when he starts talking, it's just he goes on, and that's why he actually writes really good copy. He was one of the students who I trained who created a self-liquidating funnel, believe it or not. So he can actually buy traffic and convert all of it into cash right away and buy more. And so right now he's just dealing with a few commitments that are contractually obligating him to keep on doing that thing, but he, that's unfortunately that's where he's stuck. But he is moving towards that goal. He's already making good part-time income and definitely building a list, writing good emails. And I just wish him all the best and Godspeed in achieving the goal of finally retiring, because he's got 3 kids, I think 2 dogs, wife, and he's always stressed out. Always, like the guy's always like in a hamster wheel, constantly, like classic hamster wheel case. And it's really great to see him moving forward, like inch by inch, mile by mile. He just moves towards that goal, and very soon he's going to quit his day job. So I'm really happy for Ray.
Here's what I like about Ray. We talked about it in the last episode, and we talked about having that commitment. And Ray is driving, dealing with crappy managers, sleeping in his car, while still building this business, sacrificing and making it happen because he wants out. So respect to you, Ray.
Respect.
So what do you have for us today, Igor?
Well, this is going to sound like a lot of just common sense talk at first, but I assure you today's episode has the potential to become a life-changing to you, because this will shift the way you look at marketing. Because again, we've talked about this in the previous episodes, but a lot of people don't really understand what marketing means. I mean, they can say they're internet marketers and they can say that they buy traffic perhaps, but what is marketing, right? What do you do actually? Well, in my opinion, marketing is your ability to take someone who doesn't trust you, but who has a problem of some sort, and talk to them or with them, or just produce some sort of content that speaks to them, that gets them to trust you, and that helps them realize and recognize that you are the solution to their problem. So today, I want to share the following. In my observations, I've spotted that great marketers have a firm grasp of the obvious, and they're really, really good at calling that obvious stuff out. So today, I'd like to share 3 examples on how to influence others by stating the obvious. Again, doesn't sound like much. I realize that. But I assure you, if you kind of hone this skill and get good at this stuff, you'll be surprised how a lot of people will just naturally sort of just flock to you because of how you present this material. So, first example, right? I want you to start naming bad behavior and mocking those who behave badly. So, in the previous episode, we discussed how people say they want to achieve, let's just say a financial goal of $10,000 per month, but rather than wanting to do everything they have to do in order to achieve that goal, all they do is they just want to pay other people so they do everything that needs to be done in order to achieve that goal for them. So in other words, their intentions contradict their actions. So these are the same people that say they're really committed, yet they take Sundays off. These are the same people that say they really do whatever they have to do, but when it comes to learning new skill, like say writing emails, they say, I'm not a good writer. So this is the kind of bad behavior that I'm talking about. And being able as a marketer to your crowd, to your fan base, to your niche, to say, hey, here is a behavior I'm spotting among everybody that I talk to, and here's why it's bad. And even ridiculing these people at times is going to move the people who listen to you closer. Because, Jonathan, we all know that common enemy unites people, right? If we have a common enemy, then we feel closer to each other, and nobody likes to admit the bad behavior. So the moment you talk about bad behavior, your market kind of says, oh, that's not me. I'm with you, man. We're buddies. We're pals. I'm not that. And so naturally, you get these people closer to you, and then you can have a marketing conversation.
So, Igor, when you say naming bad behavior, I heard you talk about calling it out. Do you also actually give it names, give people names that do this bad behavior?
Yeah, if I really feel creative at the time, I will give it, names. But for the most part, I just call people out. I believe that, I probably should give it more names. But the person who does this really well is Ben Settle, I think. He always names things. And that's one of those, subtle tricks that he uses, having his own vocabulary, if you will, right? And that's brilliant if you're building a tribe. So naming bad behaviors and even naming good behaviors will always work to your advantage. Frank Kern does it really well. All the guys in the syndicate used to do it. So definitely, if you feel creative enough to come up with a sexy name for good and bad behavior, okay, that either you want to ridicule or you want to enforce, then by all means do it. But know that it's not mandatory. You can still get away and still, really, really influence people by simply stating what that behavior is. And it has to be really bad, by the way. It has to be bad to a point of the person who hears you talk about it feeling embarrassed. That's what I'm talking about when I say bad behavior.
Good stuff.
So number 2 is very similar, but a little bit different. Okay, so don't confuse these. Spot common behavior shared by about 80% or more of your clients and explain in detail what it is and how it's actually not supporting them in achieving their goals. Now, this is not the same as naming bad behavior. Bad behavior will be probably shared by about 10 or 15% of your market. Now, the 80% of your market will follow some sort of either old or just flat out wrong behavior pattern that they've been told to follow. So when it comes to my market, and as you all guys know, I am basically marketing to people who want to do email marketing, who want to promote business opportunities, right? I will probably talk about how most people are taught to give value to their list. But by doing so, I will then say they are killing the rapport with their list and they are putting the list on a pedestal, and thus they are killing their own chances of making sales. That's what a common behavior in my market is and how it's actually not productive at all. Again, different from bad behavior, which is just flat out horrible.
No doubt, my man, no doubt. So what is the next one you have for us?
Well, the third one is to look for ways people contradict themselves and point it out. Now, this is done usually using a very specific example, okay? So, as an example, you can be potentially chatting to a prospective client, right? Maybe it's a Facebook chat, maybe it's an email back and forth, or maybe If you have the balls for it, it's a phone call, right? Because everybody's afraid of the damn phone call. Although that's probably the most effective way to close that sale. So let's just say you're chatting with somebody on Facebook and they say something that really doesn't make any sense. I'll give you an example. Let's just say I'm chatting with somebody who wants to purchase traffic. Okay, hypothetically. And I say, okay, so 500 clicks will set you back. I mean, whatever it is right now, let's just say $700. I don't know. And they say, oh, that seems like a lot of money. I'll be happy to purchase your traffic when I make money. Now think about it, Jonathan. How are they supposed to make money if they don't have any new leads coming in?
Chicken or the egg, right?
If not by getting the leads. And obviously, if they're coming to me for leads, it means they either don't want to buy it from a cheaper source, which is a really good behavior, by the way, because you get what you pay for. Or maybe they tried the free methods and realized they either take forever or flat out don't work. Let's just take social media, right? I mean, there's so many people trying to sell you something on social media. At this point, it's just like going into like a market in the Middle East where everybody sells the same shit and just tries to kind of haggle with you, right? So, and I say to this, I just call them out. I don't even try to convince them. I just call them out. So I'm like, okay, so how do you plan to make money if you don't invest money in getting new leads for your business? And then I just shut up and let them recognize the stupidity of what they just said. Now, this is going to be a 50-50 chance. 50% of the time, they'll say, damn it, you're right, I'm going to go ahead and look for the money to invest in leads. And the other 50% will either try to come up with some sort of like lame excuse, like, oh, I'm on disability and I don't know what to do, and they just start complaining and not, just looking for a handout. And the other, I guess, group of people will just shut up and never respond because they feel too embarrassed to do it. But again, all I've done is I didn't tell them anything but called them out on their behavior. I didn't even judge that behavior when I shared it with them. I just observed it from a third person view. I'm like, okay, so you're saying that you don't have the money to invest but you're willing to invest when you make money. So what's your plan to make it? So by doing so, again, you help the individual to recognize how much they're like contradicting themselves and then change behavior. Some will, some won't, but those who will definitely become clients.
Igor, I should have done this in the beginning, but you were on a roll. I'm wondering if you can tell us list builders, what's the difference between marketing and sales?
Marketing is the conversation that happens between you and your prospect before the sale takes place. Sales is more of a closing experience. So this is when you actually have to ask for the money and the customer starts coming up with last minute objections and excuses as to why they can't, invest or why they have doubts or whatever. So marketing, if you will, is the persuasion process. And selling is when you have to kind of gently push them over the fence.
So with the examples that you gave us today and the different methods, the call outs, checking the bad behavior and all that stuff, does this make the sale part of the transaction easier?
Absolutely. What it does, it allows them to see you in a totally different light. In other words, we are happy to give money to an expert, right? We're happy to give money to somebody who we trust has our best interest in mind, somebody who we know will solve our problem, and someone we potentially, feel connected with. So these elements will allow you to create those perceptions within your prospect's world. In other words, experts, without exception, will name bad behavior. And you can see that if you just get on YouTube and type in something, really just type in any sort of problem, okay, you'll see an expert talk about an issue and they will call out the wrong solutions to that problem. So I remember listening to this lady, I really don't remember her name, but she was talking about people doing all sorts of crazy stuff because they don't feel enough. And so she told the story of this guy she went to visit in Hollywood, and she arrives at this place, a giant mansion. There's a Porsche and a Ferrari in the driveway. She knocks on the door, and basically she was told to go see the guy because he was super upset and he refused to sign some sort of contract for a movie. And, he opens the door, he's like, what? And like, angry, and she's like, well, I'm here from this and this, and I'm here to talk about the contract. And he says, I'm not doing it. And he kind of gets into this really emotional state. And then she says, you don't think you're enough, which kind of caught him off guard. And she then goes to explain that this guy wanted to overcompensate for not feeling enough by buying a big house, buying a bunch of fast cars, making more money, and treating people down, like talking down to people. And so that's the bad behavior she called everybody out on. She basically took a segment of the audience, which was, rich people and people who are successful, and she said, they strive to achieve constantly and without stopping because they don't feel enough. And so that's kind of calling out really bad behavior, this self-destructive behavior, if you will. It's subtle. It's so subtle, in fact, that the marketplace can't even recognize what you're doing, but it's so powerful that immediately after watching a 5-minute video, I felt that this person is someone I can take my problems to who will help me solve them.
Talk about an easy sale, right? Because you're pre-sold at that point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not to mention that this video was shared with me by my friend. So there's obviously was a viral effect, right? So he was probably touched somehow by this story, or maybe it opened his eyes to his own bad behavior. So he felt that I too needed to see it because, it was profound for him. So he shared it with me. Bam, there's a viral behavior. So if you put out a video or write an email that kind of calls people out on their bad behavior, guess what? Not only you're persuading the ones who read the email, but also there's a potential for them to share this information with others and give you free publicity.
Good stuff, Igor. As we're coming close to the end, anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, again, just a reminder that great marketers have a firm grasp of the obvious and they're not afraid to call people out on it. And to kind of sum it up and just to finalize it, I'll give you an amazing example from real life, because this is not just about marketing, this is just about real life too. So me and my dad, I took him to Jerusalem yesterday to do his 6-month checkup on his dialysis tubes, that he has in his arms, where the machine is connected every other day. And so, we were driving back and I told him that I wanted to find a music teacher for Erica to teach her to play the piano because she seems to like the piano. And he says, oh, that's awesome because your mom is a piano teacher. Now, I know that my mom is, a piano teacher, sure, but she hasn't taught in 25 years.
Wow.
25 years. She hasn't taught anybody. And that was back then in the, Soviet Union, whatever. So, or maybe it was in like post-Soviet Ukraine. And I say, okay, so do you think mom can still teach? And he said, of course she can teach. She's like the best teacher. She's her grandmother. So obviously she's going to be a great teacher. I'm like, oh, cool. So tell me, please, Dad, just share with me, what do you feel is the advantage that mom, my mother, right, she will bring to the table against or compared to a professional teacher that is currently teaching and has been teaching actively every day for the last, say, 10 years. All of a sudden, my dad shut up. And then he says, well, but she's her grandmother, and I'm like, okay, awesome. I'm all for it. Just tell me, what's the ultimate advantage that she brings to the table? Why will she be more effective at teaching Erica how to play the piano than a professional music teacher that's constantly teaching, that's working with kids for the last 10 years? And I'm like genuinely trying to find out what the advantage is because he's convinced. I'm like, maybe I'm missing something. And then he says, well, you're right. Yeah, I mean, a professional teacher will probably do better as far as teaching her how to play the piano. I'm like, okay, so if we were to assume for a second that our goal is to teach Erica how to play the piano, then wouldn't you agree that hiring a professional teacher would be more effective? He's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. That's it. No argument. I would probably have gotten so angry and argued with my dad for days about it if I just didn't call him out on it. So there you go.
Good stuff, man. All right. So another episode of List Building Lifestyles in the can. Thank you, list builders, for tuning in. Thank you, Igor, for sharing little bits of your life with us. We'll be back with you next time.
Thank you for listening to the List Building Lifestyle. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play to never miss an episode. Because who knows, just one conversion tactic we share on the show might double your list and double your business. Download the transcript of today's episode and all future episodes at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com. And don't forget to claim your complimentary copy of the Wealthy List Builder Survival Guide at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com/survival. This is Igor Kheifets, and until next time we talk, have a good one.
This is the podcastfactory.com.